It's a different kind of BlizzCon this year, but still really exciting stuff. And even though they actually accidentally released a lot of this info yesterday, I still find myself just really gripped by it all and discovering it all as if I didn't already know everything that they were going to describe. So it's crazy. Wowhead's got all kinds of posts, but I just want to give my thoughts on some of it. So they talked a lot about TBC. We'll just start there because it's the thing I'm least interested in. People are going to ask about it. We had a relatively high profile falling out with Classic, and I'm not a big fan of how they're handling the TBC situation. I think the biggest complaint I would have is that they're going to allow characters to go over. I don't know, maybe they'll change it, obviously, but it's just not acceptable to take characters with millions of gold from Classic over to TBC. I know that's normally how an expansion would work anyway, if that's what they're after. But I don't have much respect for that, frankly. But I don't know how else they could do it. I know nobody wants to just brick their character and leave them on a realm that they don't want to play on anymore. But I really do hope that people who wanted to play Classic actually wanted to play Classic and they didn't just level them in hopes of taking them to TBC. But I guess this is how they're doing it. So there's not really much that you can say about that. And then this was just like, wow, this is shocking, honestly. Um, I guess we'll see how it goes. Okay, there's a couple things announced that they're going to be like paid features. I mean, I guess it's not necessarily ridiculous because it's completely free for us, right? All we do is pay one subscription and we get it all for free. It's now 3 games for free, so it is kind of a much. I think it's a lot to ask for, but if they're going to do something like this, I don't know if you didn't hear about it, but level 58 boosts apparently once per account. Which it's interesting. I mean, to be honest, that might get me to play TBC. Like, legitimately, I'm not leveling a character again. Like, so my problem with TBC and what I've seen so far is that I have a paladin that's level 60. I wanted to play a paladin in Classic and potentially in TBC, but because the game was designed poorly, I couldn't play a horde paladin. So I have to play a dwarf, which I like Alliance regardless. But so that character is basically useless. Like, I don't plan on playing Alliance in TBC, and I don't know if anybody does. Historically, if you ever go to a TBC private server, it's like 90% horde, because once Blood Elf comes out, like, people are really chasing the racials. But I don't know how they'll handle it in Classic or in TBC Classic, which is going to get really confusing. First of all, TBC Classic, but they are offering a solution, I guess, to this. A level 58 character that would have very minimal startup, but is going to have full access to TBC, which is interesting, depending on the price point. Again, I mean, unless it's like $60, I don't know. Let's not even speculate on that. But and they also talked about, I don't know if they said some stuff here, but yeah, like Seal of Blood and Seal of Vengeance available to both factions. So basically they're like changing the game. TBC, and the thing that I was maybe almost like offended by was it's like they like straight up laughed when they said like the no changes thing just didn't work almost. It was like, what? That's why we were making it in the first place. Because if that's the case, then you just ruined Classic. You know what I mean? You just wasted time with Classic. It's such a shame. I don't know. I just don't have much interest in all this, but I do have one interest in one thing with TBC, and that's just kind of reliving the old world. So I have no plans on playing TBC seriously, but we'll probably do something at some point when it comes out, depending on when it comes out. I'm much more interested in 9.1. But there was also the talk about being able to buy a copy of your character to take back to Classic. If you take it, it's just like, wow, that is just pretty tone deaf, honestly. I don't think people are gonna like that, but yeah, there it is there. But so what is this piece? Classic realms. I don't know. I'm gonna have to read all this, but what happens with realms? Existing realms will patch in a new Burning Crusade. If you chose to experience all the content, everything your character remains the same, including your realm, guild, and more. Yeah, so the realms aren't actually changing, I guess, which is probably going to be hell for a lot of those top realms. I don't know how that's going to work out. Because there'll probably be even new people going there, starting new characters on those realms. But then the realm names will remain the same for both Classic and Classic era realms. It's really weird. A lot of info here. I'm surprised. There's a lot of posts here. And I guess because this is actually like all done like in post or in preparation for, I guess. Like all of this is already out. So I don't know. Like this is not live. I'm kind of surprised by this. But anyway, that's enough about TVC. Let's talk about Metallica being I don't know, a huge fan of Metallica. People were not, people weren't too happy about that. I love Metallica. Anyway, no, let's talk about 9.1. So I'm just gonna say this right now. Like I'm actually more excited for 9.0.5 than I am for 9.1 right now because 9.0.5 is making like serious changes to the game that I'm playing right now, and I love season one. I really do. So a lot of my opinion on season two is going to be heavily based on what they do with a lot of things, like what the raid's like. Because right now, Castle Nathria is probably my favorite raid ever, one of my top 5 for sure. Season 1 affix is without question my favorite Mythic Plus affix or thing that would impact Mythic Plus. And I just love the way my DK is playing right now. So we'll see what 9.1 does. They have another Q&A thread that's up. I asked about legendaries in it. We'll see if any of my questions get answered tomorrow. Unfortunately, I will be celebrating my cousin's birthday tomorrow, so I won't be around to do any type of reaction, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, so let's talk about a few things here. We see, first off, the Broker Mega Dungeon. I think this is probably the thing I'm the most excited for because this looks freaking. First of all, look at this. Look at that cat. That's cool. And that's a cool mount, too. I'm like, I really like this theme. They posted some imagery the other day. I guess we're not going to see it again. But it's like really cool concept art. I cannot wait to actually see what this dungeon looks like. I'll tell you, the Mega Dungeons, Karazhan and Megagon, my two favorite dungeon blocks like ever. Like legitimately, the best actual dungeons that I've ever seen in the game are those two, some of them. So really happy about that. Can't wait to see what happens with that. I'm excited to see what the bosses are like because these are apparently some of the bosses and they look bizarre, honestly. I bet whenever you see stuff like this, it makes me really encouraged that there's going to be a lot of creativity in it. Like Mechagon was so different than the rest of BFA that it was really creative, right? Like look at Workshop and Junkyard as Mythic Plus. And if you're not aware, the dungeons will come out as Mythic 0 only first, and then they will have a Mythic Plus in Season 3. They'll also have like a Heroic and whatever other stuff comes with that. But yeah, so I can't wait to see. We didn't learn much about it, but I can't wait to see it. So there's going to be a new zone. I mean, obviously, I guess there's no surprise. There's going to be a new raid. It's going to be, oh yeah. So I don't know. I'm reading this for the first time, so we got to check that out. But, so the raid, Sanctum of Domination is the raid. Central area where the jailer is holed up, his main minions. It's going to be the focus here. 10 boss raid. You'll finally be able to face off against Terragu. It's probably like the first boss, honestly, which would be funny. I'm sure has kicked you out of Torghast, mate. This is just what he was reading during the thing. It's unfortunate. Any raid features minions, servants, and soldiers of the cold dark. Like this one is going to have our old nemesis Kel'Thuzad. And finally, the culmination at long last, taking the fight directly to Sylvanas. So what I see, if you didn't see the cinematic that they played, it's beautiful. Honestly, I was tearing up at it. It's so freaking good. I tell you, Arthas and Uther are the reason I play this game today. Like, I'll never forget the first time I ever saw those characters. By like best friend at the time, Tony Sula. He was like really, he got the game and he was like really into it. He's like, you should play this. I went over his house and I was like, I don't ever want you to pick me up from this dude's house. You know, like I wanted to play this game forever, Warcraft 3. And it was because of the human storyline. I absolutely loved it. I loved Uther. I loved the voice acting. I love everything about the characters. I instantly fell in love with it as like a 14 or 15-year-old, whatever I was at the time. And to have these characters back in action honestly makes me quite nostalgic. Like it makes me feel weird. I feel weird about it because I'm like, wow, this is what I've always wanted. You know, these characters are so important to me. And I've always loved WoW. I never really cared about the story, honestly. But this has got me interested. So seeing Uther and Anduin kind of cross paths there. And frankly, that story, the cutscene story was like so reminiscent of when Arthas kills his father. It's like I was legit ready to cry. So I can't wait to see what they do with this raid because I'm telling you right now, Kel'Thuzad is not just gonna, you know, these are just too important. These characters are just too important. And then there's this Eye of the Jailer thing, which is like has something to do with Odin, which is like, oh my god, man. They've been planning this shit for years, which is so freaking cool. It's just awesome to see this. And then Sylvanas, obviously. So I don't think anybody is going to be surprised to hear anyone suggest that Sylvanas is actually going to turn back in some way to our side. Even if she does end up dying, I think it's not going to be like Garrosh, not like the Garrosh situation, which is what everybody was complaining about. And in BFA, they're like, it's not going to be Garrosh 2.0, and it's certainly not. But there's still the potential that it goes down in a similar way. She's made some interesting decisions. I still don't fully understand what's going on there. I'm sure we're going to learn more in the raid and in the patch leading up to the raid, but I would not be surprised if she did not regret her decision. Now that Anduin is basically the Lich King, mind controlled by the jailer, I would not be surprised if she did not have some regret. And just whether or not they pay it off well. The storyline has been a little bit questioned. I personally think that BFA was not what they wanted to produce originally, that they pivoted at some point. I think they were going in one direction, and then for some reason they pivoted because it just feels that way. Ajara and Nazoth, they just don't fit in. I still don't really see a clear direction towards that at any point. And I guess Legion was kind of building towards it, but it just doesn't make me think that they were connected. So I would not be surprised if this is the reason they pivoted, if they have some big twist still to come, and we might see it in the raid. So I'm very excited for this raid. It's obviously a new raid. I just really hope this is not what it is. Okay, listen, I like Torghast for the gameplay, but I'm just so bored of this gray floor and kind of bluish gray walls and white stuff everywhere. I really hope that it's a fun, colorful raid, because Castle Nathria is just a gorgeous, vibrant raid. It reminds me sadly of most expansions, honestly. The first raid is the most flavorful for a while. There'll be good raids coming, but if you think about Mogushan Vaults, Terrace of the Eternal Spring, and Mop, right? You think about Highmaul compared to even Hellfire Citadel. You think about Emerald Nightmare and Nighthold compared to some of the other raids. It's just they're so vibrant, they're so rich because they were able to be creative with it. They didn't have anything to bind them to it, and now we're getting a raid in Torghast. So what does that mean, the Torghast raid? I don't know what that means for the rest of the expansion, right? That's why I think there's a big twist here. I think, actually, Seismical said it, I don't think we know anything about what this storyline is yet. I really think we actually have no idea. I think that there is something crazy going on here, because even in that cutscene, the jailer seems like he's making a play that we're going to end up sympathizing with in some way, or that it's going to end up twisting on its head. This whole situation is not what we think it is. And I don't know where we would go from here, because if we're already having a Torghast raid, we're obviously not fighting the jailer, but he's obviously going to be present in some way, and we're fighting a lot of his kind of associates. What could possibly be 9.2? You know what I mean? We're basically getting all these characters out of the way. Now 2 out of the 3. So the Primus is just AFK, but a lot of people think that he is actually the Smith dude that we do the legendary stuff with. The Paragon or whatever, I don't know. The big blue lady is now dead, apparently. We'll see if that's true or not. And then Denathrius is now dead, so you got Renanthal taking his place, I guess. But it's basically just 2 out of the 4 zones that are even still remotely led or active. I don't know what happens with this, but I just can't see how it's not a huge deal that this is the patch 1 of the raid, of the season, of the expansion. But anyway, there's also this post here. I did not actually see this until I went making this video. Our return to the Maw, not only a chance for us to push back against the dark designs of the jailer in areas that previously were very forbidding for us, where we really weren't able to spend very much time there. Having a secure foothold with all the 4 covenants allow us to push back against the oppressive force. We'll be able to stop the eye of the jailer in his tracks, exploring areas that we're unable to see, and our months will once again even hear our call within the Maw. Was that actually announced in the panel? I didn't actually realize that. I missed that part, but I don't really care about this. But yeah, that's a big piece of news, I guess. There's also going to be new content in the Maw, apparently. Yeah, this is freaking cool. Check these out. Oh my god, these are awesome. Wow, really cool. That is nice. That white one's pretty cool. The Venthyr one is definitely the best one. Look at that thing. Oh man, these are really cool. That looks like it's parody. Honestly, we'll have to see what it looks like in game, but that head and neck is just absurd looking. And yeah, really don't think I'll be going Necrolord, unfortunately. I just don't really identify with its overall look and feel to it. But some cool stuff there for Necrolords. So that's kind of it. I mean, so I would say that yeah, there's some armor sets which they showed. This is actually I really wish I could play Kyrie and enjoy it because I love some of these armor sets. I'm gonna have to start getting this stuff on my paladin because it would look good. The Nightface stuff looks good too. I quite like the shoulders. I don't think I would ever wear the helmet. It looks a bit silly, but if only this was like a dress or something like this. I love these like kind of ankle bracelets. How there's no feet. I wonder if these are the boots, like, because that's neat. Honestly, I wonder if these are the bracers or if it's part of the chest. But I love everything from the head down for sure. And honestly, this set is neat as shit. It does look very similar to the Necromancer sets from the old days. Obviously, it's a lot different, but if you look at just the shoulders, that's really what they're after. The helmet is a little different, but kind of like a modern one. And then Cop says this is the best one, but that's the guy who likes pineapple on the pizza, so whatever. Hard to take anything serious out of that mouth, but yeah, I would say that I'm pretty excited. Like I said, I knew about all this already. I don't know how many people actually read this stuff, but there was like a post that literally was the press release with all the imagery and stuff that they were going to give out. They didn't even mention it, and I'm 99% sure that this is actually just pre-recorded, like it's not live in any way. So that disappoints me because it's like, why did we have to wait till February for this? Honestly, but they had a badass stage and stuff, so pretty cool stuff. We got to talk about this Wandering Ancient mount, which is neat. If you didn't watch this was kind of cool. It does, these kind of imageries, it's like, oh, I'm actually pretty hyped for this. Like, these are really iconic things. So it doesn't look like what I would want it to look like. I feel like it's got a weird head. Let's see if we can get a good picture of it. So what's with this head? It's like a house. I guess that's what it's meant to be. It's like a summoning stone on it. I'm not a big fan of the face, but I'm very interested in seeing what it looks like with a character on it. Is there a picture? Yeah, see, that's what they were, I guess, trying to go for. But yeah, it was an interesting topic to see how they work on mounts. And then this guy's like just getting paid to pretend like he's a living tree, which is funny. I'm interested in seeing what it looks like. Oh, look, there's even a little caterpillar. Well, okay, that's it. So yeah, so to recap, 9.0.5 has got me extremely hyped, so it's hard to even live up to it. I cannot wait to see, like, the character power and stuff like that is just so nice, and I'm really eager to see what actually happens with that patch. And then 9.1 is probably still a whiles away, and frankly, I'm perfectly fine with that. I would prefer that. I'm not eager for a new season at all. I love the current season, but of course, it's going to be very exciting when it does come, so let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to talk about the whole Anduin situation because that has me very interested. Let's put it this way. I really can't see how Arthas, even if he's not directly in the expansion or, something like that, there's no way that Kel'Thuzad, a Lich King type character, and Uther are not going to have some, like, come on, he's there. Okay, so let me know what you think. I'm eager to see I guess the main thing will be, let's see what the season 2 affix is, right? And let's see what the raid looks like and what this dungeon looks like. Let me see what all this looks like. Obviously, they're probably still kind of behind on it because it's, relatively far away, but I just can't wait to see what this freaking mega dungeon thing looks like because some of the imagery that we've seen, I don't know why they don't have the pictures on it, but there was pictures from it yesterday that were just absolutely awesome looking. And I'm like, wow, I cannot wait to see what that dungeon looks like. And I can't wait to see how the bosses and all the mechanics in it work. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.